Here with me now to discuss this and more is Congressman Mark Green. He is a member of the House Armed Services Committee, Foreign Affairs Committee, Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Crisis. He's a member of the House Freedom Caucus and the GOP Doctors Caucus. He represents the 7th Congressional District of Tennessee. Congressman Green, welcome back to the program. Always great to see you.
Great to see you too, Tony. Thanks for having me on.
So very quickly, what is your assessment of the relationship between President Biden and the President of Mexico, and are we going to see any changes on the border as a result of this meeting?
Well, I don't think there'll be any changes on the border because our president is committed to an open border, a fully open border. So the things that concern you and I and most Americans, the fentanyl, the huge surge of people, it's just not going to stop. And in terms of his relationship with the Mexican president, I couldn't really tell you. I can tell you that what I know about the Mexican president is he's not really friends with anyone. He pretty much does exactly what he wants to do. And the Democracy Summit, the various relationships with other members of Latin America. I'm the ranking Republican on the Western Hemisphere covering Latin America and the Caribbean, is really bad. He's supportive of Cuba to some extent. So I don't see a great relationship happening there.
Congressman, my take on it is that he's flexing his muscles and really kind of pushing the United States around. I think, sidestepping, President Biden's big meeting in Los Angeles. I think he's sending a message that he's not going to be playing second fiddle to the United States.
Well, there's no doubt about that. I mean, that's how AMLO thinks about everything. I mean, he's a pretty self-confident guy. I don't think he will tolerate anything from this administration, especially this administration. He recognizes it as very weak. Our last president was very, very firm on threatening some tariffs if Mexico didn't comply. And of course, the Mexican president then immediately put the Mexican army on the border, on both of his borders, his southern border and his northern border with us. And that made a huge difference. I went down to the border and saw them sitting there. But this president, the Mexican president, is not going to respect our current president.
Congressman, switching gears a little bit, this administration, both the president in his cabinet as well as the House leadership, the Democratic leadership, fixated on abortion and transgenderism. But this week, once again, the House is going to be voting on a couple of abortion bills. The Women's Health Protection Act, I'm not sure how many times you voted on that, but you're going to be voting on it again. The Access to Abortion Act of 2022. Again, you're going to be voting on that. Same outcome that we've seen in the past. It's going to pass the House, go to the Senate, and just sit there.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. You'll see, one Democrat vote with us on those because, he takes his faith seriously, Cuellar. But I can't imagine that it won't pass. All the rest of the Democrats line up on it. Then it'll go to the Senate. It really comes down to what Manchin decides to do. And in the past, he's been a blocker on codifying Roe v. Wade. So hopefully that'll stick.
Not satisfied with these two bills that they're once again voting for on the House floor, and as you said, they're probably going to pass. You've got members on the Democratic side trying to turn the National Defense Authorization Act into another carrier for abortion-related measures. What's going to happen there with the National Defense National Defense Authorization Act?
Well, the National Defense Authorization Act, they do everything they can to push, for example, RU86, the abortifacient drug that prevents implantation but doesn't prevent conception. So they try to get that drug provided to the military service members. Now they want to do it for free to the family members. They'll advance their woke agenda across the board in the NDAA. They try to stick all sorts of amendments on it. Usually the NDAA rides through without a lot of that. But in the past 2 or 3 years, certainly since the Democrats have been in control, they've been sticking those on. And this year they're advancing, the morning after bill, so to speak, for family members for free.
And of course, this is a must-pass piece of legislation. It's a piece that passes every year, so they know that if they can get this on there, it's likely to become law. In a related matter, the Army, short on recruitment, I mean, missing their recruitment goals. I mean, in fact, all branches of the service having that problem. But yet they're moving to push out members who refuse to get what we now know is an ineffective COVID vaccine or shot. And in fact, the Army has decided to cut off pay and benefits to more than 62,000 service members in the National Guard units across the country because they did not get the COVID jab. You're actually taking action on that.
Yeah, so this is, first let me kind of quantify how ridiculous this is. You know, the Army lowered its end strength by 12,000 people this year, not because, you know, we needed fewer troops. I mean, we got the pacing threat in China. They talk about that all the time. But they're cutting the end strength because they can't meet recruiting goals. They can't meet recruiting goals because kids that are 18 to 25 don't think they need the vaccine. And honestly, they don't. They're not at risk for COVID death. And serious outcomes with COVID. And you've got 62,000 guardsmen. I mean, that's the equivalent of 4 divisions of people basically being thrown out all at one time. The impact on readiness to our guard units is incredible. And we talked to these, I talked to a brigade commander the other day. He basically said, I can't recruit mechanics. They can work at Wendy's and make more money. I mean, these guys don't seem to really care about the strength of our military. But these are the guys who defund the police, so what do we expect? They support the bad guys and not the good guys.
And I think unless you're close to or involved in the Guard, most people don't realize how our military relies on National Guard now. They're rotating in and out. I mean, if you're in the National Guard, you're going to be deployed at some point because of the lack of permanent personnel strength.
Yeah, the force structure is set up to use those guardsmen and reservists, so Navy Reserve, Army Reserve. You know, those reservists and guardsmen are critical to the U.S. military's force structure and force protection of the country. So it makes no sense at all. But again, you know, this is the president who's going to Saudi Arabia to ask for more oil while he's attacking the U.S. oil and gas industry and giving 1 million barrels to China. That pacing threat that we just talked about. So they can't seem to get anything right in this administration. And every single thing they do is upside down. I mean, it's illogical and makes no sense.
Very quickly, got 20 seconds left. Secretary Becerra saying that we could have a surge of COVID in the fall. My prediction, it comes just around election time. Will they fool us twice? They did it once, but will they do it twice?
No, I think most of the states have put down their feet on mail-in ballots. Georgia did that. Several of the others did that. No, we're not going to be fooled this time. There will be COVID. This virus mutates, so there are going to continue to be new mutations. But
we don't have to go into hiding, and we don't have to change our election structure to accommodate it. Congressman Mark Green, always great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate all you do on Capitol Hill.
Yes, sir. Thank you.